Following concerning testimony at the Madlanga Commission and Parliament's ad hoc committee looking into concerns around national security, Standing Committee on Appropriations Chair Mmusi Maimane has written to the Minister of Finance calling for discussions on solutions to prevent unscrupulous service providers from doing business with the state. Maimane proposes the development of a publicly accessible digital dashboard displaying which companies are awarded tenders, for how much, and a report of the work done. Mmusi Maimane joins us now. Mmusi, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. What you're asking for in part already does exist, right? If you pull up the audited financial statements of any state entity, in it you will see exactly how much it spent, who that money went to, at least the company that provided the service, and how much the contract was valued at. What you perhaps don't get in the audited financials is a report on the work done, but you get that in the integrated report, which only comes out once a year, unfortunately. What you're asking for already kind of exists. What's the point?
Good evening, and good evening to fellow South Africans. The surest way to fight corruption has always been a function of transparency. We're operating in a digital economy, so if I were to ask a question, which is how many South Africans have pulled in those financial statements? Very few have. National Treasury appears before Parliament, at least before our committee, every quarter, and in certain instances we request quarterly expenditure, which is obligated by law. Even at that particular public hearing, you often get the nature of the amounts, a summary of where they go. And so for an ordinary citizen, when tenders are being adjudicated for a hospital like Tembisa, they aren't always clear, firstly, who the directors of that company are. Secondly, they can't get a live update in a digital economy that allows us to use things like artificial intelligence to be able to be predictive in how exactly we prevent corruption. That isn't always accessible. And thirdly, the trigger mechanisms that allow us to red flag prior to awarding of contracts must be a fundamental issue. So whilst the records are available, they are simply inaccessible, not digital sufficiently so that an ordinary citizen is able to gain access, because truly the fight in South Africa requires not only the function of prosecution, it requires the absolute job of prevention by making sure every citizen is able to gain access to that ahead of time.
Yeah, you're not asking for more transparency. You're just asking for that transparency to be packaged differently, Mmusi. That is to say, you want it to be live and you want it to be in real time, that is to say. But you then problematize, and I think importantly here, that it is not easily accessible. So what makes you think that the same citizen who wouldn't want to download an organization's financial statements will be willing to have those financials, will be willing to go on a digital dashboard and click around to find exactly the same information when the mechanisms are somewhat similar?
No, more than anything, it is most citizens, all of us, operate on various devices all over the country. And frankly, all I'm simply asking for is that if people knew the portal, knew accessibility, knew that it could be accessible from any cell phone, then for those, particularly first and foremost for the bidders, for citizens whom serve that particular service that's been adjudicated, are able to assess from themselves. Imagine if a South African was sitting at Tembisa Hospital and was able to go, fine, I'm sitting here, there are no medicines, yet a tender was issued to ensure that medicines are being delivered here. I can log on to my phone and know which company that is so that I can trigger the mechanisms. All of us then become watchdogs against a corrupt system. And furthermore, it ensures that people like Babita, may her soul rest in peace, don't have to be the only ones who flag behavior. And then as more companies are being made transparent, because other companies are keeping an eye on that, we can ensure that we eliminate insider trading or preferential bidding by certain individuals who have close proximity to politicians.
Yeah. this doesn't prevent delinquent actors from continuing to do business with the state, right? The mechanism that triggers that is that National Treasury has to make an application for them to be blacklisted. So even if we can see that a tender has been awarded and perhaps awarded to someone we might potentially know to be unscrupulous and or short of doing business with integrity, the process of getting them blacklisted is a separate process. You're hoping to draw a link between these?
Absolutely. And we're saying prevention in this instance is better than cure. And ultimately, because the challenge with government is that often people do work, let me use the road accident fund, or I can use any other, or have the health facilities. You find a company is scrupulous in one province, in one hospital. And then when they become suspicious there, they move as though they are hunting packs to another department and do likewise. And so what I'm saying is that when it's nationally and in a centralized database that all of us are aware of, the ministries, the departments are aware of, you flag behavior from being transferred from one province to another. This is about us adding another layer of transparency. The prosecutorial work of blacklisting, of making sure that that company never gets in, becomes easier and quicker when we can digitally trace the money. At this point in time, all of us are sitting here, all of us as citizens, watching Madlanga Commission, waiting for reports to be finalized. And ultimately, when those are done, only then does blacklisting occur, at which points Maseratis have been bought and citizens are without without healthcare.
Yeah, well, we know criminals can be quite litigious, right? So you still have to calculate that into your opportunity cost equation. Just lastly, has the Minister of Finance responded to your letter?
Certainly, the Minister of Finance, we received an acknowledgement, and when the Minister of Finance appears before our portfolio committee, this will be a question I will raise with them more directly so that we can find solutions. This is about us saying what future of South Africa do we want and how do we prevent further corruption from taking place.
Mmusi Maimane, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Mmusi Maimane is the chairperson of Parliament's Standing Committee on Appropriations.